A circle full of dogs. We put in the work. Oh, baby, it's going down like a bunch of crazy dogs.
What's up, people? Yeah, audio, right? Technical difficulties. Welcome to Giants Rush. Another episode. We're back. We got the guys. I got Shawnee B. I got Spartan Mike here. We're going to talk about Giants football, who got cut and why, who's coming back. We'll talk JMS, and I'm going to be rocking 4 Super Bowl rings before the end of the night. Maybe I'd love to hear about your Super Bowl stories. What Super Bowl you like the best? Maybe what ring you like the best? Maybe a memory that you have. So throw that in there when you guys are ripping up the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're here 52 weeks of the year. It's Giant Rush. I do need to turn my microphone on. As you just saw, I just rambled off for a minute and a half there to nothing. So thanks for tuning in. I'm looking at, I see Daniel in the room. I see Bill. Yeah, muted, right? Happens to me all the time where it goes from on to off. Mark Thompson, he's here early. We love that. Bang. Thanks, Mark. So thanks for hanging with us. Let's bring the guys in because Giants Rush wouldn't be Rush without my guys. And I got some really good guys. Let's bring in Shawnee B. Shawnee, what's up, buddy?
Craig, what's on, man? I was just saying backstage, I am in full Joker mode tonight.
Woo!
I am fired up, man. So
that's what happens when you get, hours turns into days, turns into weeks of absolute absurdity on Twitter. Right.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows out there, I actually talked to Sean a little bit about that. We're going to try really hard this year, at least between me and the Joker, man, at least to just crunch a lot of the negativity or a lot of the stuff that doesn't make sense. Like sometimes a lot of you guys just hear a lot of monotony. You don't have any idea if this is factual. And the reason why I bring that up is I see a lot of people talking about things that aren't real in college football, right? Like people like to make things up. There are some guys out there that are really good, but we're going to just try to make sure we're on point with saying, hey, look, this is fantasy land. This stuff doesn't exist. We're going to try to bring a lot of truth out this year because, there's more negative out there than there is positive, right? And what had a lot of people roll with a lot of that negativity. What's up, Mr. Peace? So glad you're hanging out with us. We haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, you're right. Let's get it. And Peace, don't forget, I did name a very cool crew sweatshirt after you, right? So bang, good to see you back. Let's bring in the one and the only Spartan, Mike, who's our our chairman for fantasy football.
Craig, what's going on, man?
Dude, here we are. We're countdown, brother. Countdown to the kickoff.
That's it. And guys, we got a countdown right now to the fantasy draft. So we got one league completely filled out. Just got to fill out the other one. So if you guys are still interested out there, just let us know. We had an abundant supply of demand. Anything happens, of course, where the people aren't paying, which, by the way, guys, if you signed up, you do have to pay. I reached out to a lot of you guys. Most of you pretty much already have gone through the link, so appreciate that. Yeah. But more to come. Looking forward to getting the season started. The prizes are awesome. I told Craig we're going to keep it under wraps. He respected that. I do also kind of wish that you guys knew, but at the same time, I don't want you to know until you find out because they're both, whichever prize you end up with, you're going to be really happy.
What's up, Mark? What's up, Chris? Bill? See you guys piling it. And by the way, for the record, Spartan Mike is way, way nicer than I am. So if you haven't paid yet, I'm about an hour from yanking you out. Okay. And Spartan's just like, no, they're good people. They're good people. I'm like, well, if they're good people, first of all, I made the mistake of falling on the sword of not telling Spartan Mike last year it was $50. Okay. So I fall on the sword here. Look, here it is, right? I'm falling on the sword.
They don't have to know how the sausage is made, Craig. It's all good.
But you do need to know that you have to pay, and your
you
time is running out. And there's about 5 of you, so League One is filled up.
And guys, Craig is a hardcore Italian. Don't be fooled here. He's got some connections.
Yeah,
and you don't want to get whacked over not paying your $25 fee.
And he'll send nails after him, and you don't. I mean, you've seen his arms, so you don't want to have to deal with nails. The enforcer.
Chris is really nice. I'll just hit you with a shovel and bury you right in my backyard in the Pine Barrens. I won't think twice about it.
Right. You go for the efficiency key there. I think both nails and truth play it off a little bit cooler than that. Right up front. But don't mess with this, guys. If you owe us $25, just pay it. It's 25 freaking bucks.
You've got basically till about 10 p.m. tonight to get yanked. However, I don't really care because you know what? We filled one league up already, and we still got more demand. So play against Joker, play against Spartan, guys. Get your butt in gear. Let's talk Giants football, guys, because that's why everybody's here. I actually got a really nice compliment and complaint at the same time on YouTube last week that we don't start the show quick enough with enough football. So let's get right into football because we're 8 minutes in and we have not talked about any football. So guys, today was a day where where basically people lost their job. There were some cuts. I'm going to read off some of these cuts to you, and you guys can kind of tell me on what you think. If you have an opinion, you might not have an opinion because some of these guys you don't really get to see actually play, right? So let's start off with, I'm looking for the list. Give me a second. Here it is. Bang. Okay. All right. The first one is a guy that I've had some conversations with. Really good dude. Played at Montana. Wyoming. Played in Wyoming. Wide receiver. A year, Asante. Again, he was in my hometown working out with Kenny Pickett. He's a wide receiver, definitely talented guy, but in a very, very competitive room. So I'll start with you, Spartan. Any thoughts on Asante? Again, coming into a very experienced room, not an easy place to make your living.
Yeah, absolutely. And not in a position that, sure, it hasn't been the strong suit of the Giants necessarily for the last several years, but over this past year, it's a pretty solidified group of guys. And trying to fight to get space there is really tough. So, I think we're at a point with a guy like that. I just say I appreciate the effort and the work that you put on out there and all that. But, unfortunately, at the end of the day, was going to be a guy that can consistently deliver? Probably not. But again, no further comments than that, really.
All right. Oh, by the way, I'm going to pop this up in here because, we love Bill. So, Bill, you pay that receipt that you got has a link in it. Click that link. That'll take you right to where you sign up your team. If it says that, it should not say the league is full, right? It should say, start your league up. So, just take that link that you were sent, or if you don't have it for any reason, Spartan will send it to you again.
Yeah. But here, I could put it right in here too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He could drop a link in right there for you to sign up. If you haven't paid yet, make sure you go through the site so we can collect that data to know who paid and when, and of course who you are in case you win. We can make sure we get your prize out. So we've got one prize, of course, for the winner of each league, and then one prize for the best team name. Okay. And by the way, I've seen a couple of them already that were pretty cool. So same thing. Toss it back to you, Sean. What are your thoughts? Any thoughts on a year, Sante? Again, very competitive room.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. Didn't help himself out the other night with the special teams plays, the drops, the fumbles. Hurt himself. That's it. So
all right, coming right back at you, Sean. Coming up and back. Defensive tackle Kyler Ball. Really just, not enough substance there, right, for it to hang your hat on.
Yeah, nothing against him. Just had a hard shot to make the team. Didn't do it, and it is what it is at this point.
Spartan, wide receiver who actually made a couple plays, flashed a little bit. I'll go as far to tell you that the best pass DeVito threw in the Giants-Lions 2-day camp was DeVito to John Giles in the corner. Great catch, great ball. John Giles is on this list as number 3 as a cut. Any thoughts here?
I would just say this. I mean, with a player like that, and he did show some flashes of potential there. Great candidate for the practice squad.
He makes it through, right?
Yeah.
Right. And Mark wants to know if we're going to talk about roster. 100% we can talk about roster. We can break down who. The only thing about that, Mark, is, and I don't have any problem doing this, are we not all in agreement that out of the 53, we can agree on 45 of the 53 or 47? We're really only talking about a 5-person swing. Some guys are going to want one guy over the, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much. Yesterday was my birthday.
Happy birthday, Craig.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Craig, are you 50?
No, but I'm not, but I mean, we won't. Shawnee's older than me.
It was your birthday. I'll let you have that. We got to be nice to him tonight. It was his birthday yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
but I will say, and we can get into it a little bit more later, was so yesterday was a cool day, without a doubt. And I'm big, into chilling on your birthday. But the surprise that I got at the front door today felt like my birthday all over again. We will definitely get to that a little bit. With Two Toes in the house. Two-Toe, I don't know where you've been, but just so you know, there is a shirt in the Giants Rush apparel store named after you. And by the way, this is what was at my front door, and we will get to that in a minute. So yeah, Spartan, I'm with you. Like, you're hoping a guy like Giles maybe can get stuffed on a practice squad. Sean, I mean, look, guys are hurting for receivers. Tall, got some length to him. Like, do you think he's going to be able to, find his way through there, or you think someone will pick him up?
No, I think he's got a real good shot to make it through. Again, he made some flash plays, but he also made some plays that made you go, yeah.
Ooh.
So I think he's got a good shot to make it through.
I'm kind of like 50-50, right? Like young, but you kind of knew that was kind of coming. Next one was he was here and then he was gone, right? Is from the Chargers, Spartan, the Giants brought in last week Joshua Kelly, running back, and he's gone 6 days later. Thoughts, camp body, but I'm sure the kid could play, but again, it's another very crowded room.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, once again, a tough player, tough situation for his sake. No expectations, really. And a name I didn't even really expect to see any sort of action if he somehow miraculously did make the team, maybe a practice squad type guy.
Shawnee, linebacker Trey Kaiser was on this list. Nothing, right? Really there.
Camp body.
Running back Lorenzo Lingard. Sean, anything here?
No, I mean, he had good size, but again, that running back room is crowded for limited spots on the roster, so he wasn't getting by the other guys.
Yeah.
And that room is definitely crowded. There is no doubt about it. Especially,
I'm going to second that exact same comment. I'm no disagreement, no further opinion on him.
Yeah, right, Spartan. It's like some of these guys, like you kind of, if you had more time to see them, but you don't. So if you don't flash quick,
right?
Yeah,
it happens. Safety, Clayton Isbell. Here's a guy. No offense to Mr. Isbell. I don't even think I saw him on the field. So I didn't. He's not a guy that I saw.
If we're not seeing these guys, I mean, it's really tough to say, one way or another how we feel, or if we had any sense of possibility there that they could make the team.
Right. The next one we can definitely spend a couple minutes on because this one's definitely for today's cuts. Unless something happened in the last couple hours, I'm missing, and that possibly can happen, right? Craig is twice your age, Spartan. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that.
It's growing less over time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going backwards in time. He's going forward.
That's right.
So this one to me, guys, is definitely was. I mean, okay, as a football fan, you're not surprised. As a Giants fan, you're kind of surprised because, GMs and coaches usually take care of their own, especially guys that are cheap, especially the guys that are on their first contract, rookie contract kind of a thing. Offensive lineman Marcus McKeithen was let go today. Now, they may think they're going to try to stuff him through waivers, and bring him back. So I'll start with you, Spartan. Any thoughts on McKeithen not making it? Surprised? What was your take?
Yeah, I kind of thought with McKeithen, that one was a little bit surprising from the simple standpoint alone of, we weren't seeing too much out of the dude. I would have expected one more year out of a guy that Shane had drafted. And just in general, sometimes he's a 5th round pick, right? So it's towards the end, of the middle, if you will. I would have suspected he gets another year, acts as depth because he's familiar with the Giants and the offensive line situation. So I would argue that one was the most surprising. Now, has he been playing good football? No. I mean, he hasn't panned out to really be anything. And sure, the Giants look like a liability to some degree with him in there. But again, I mean, I would have expected him to have gotten cut next year, not this year.
Go ahead, Shawnee. Give me your opinion on this one because I think that. By the way, you guys are really mean in the comments, just so you know.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
McKeithen's a guy I did think had some potential. Injuries got in the way, but I was a little surprised at this.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised, but not because, you have no room for error with these line right now, and he's been injured. And I think it's a guy they'll try to get on the practice squad, develop him more because he really didn't get any development over 2 years. I do think he has potential, but when you look at where the depth of the O-line is, and it's hard to imagine that I'm even saying this, like you just can't take a shot and keep him on because, it was a guy you drafted. Like you got to have the best guys that are there. We have no room to just hang on to guys because they were drafted to that extent. Right. I like the fact that they're not hanging on guys too long. And again, if they bring them back in the practice squad, get them some coaching, let them develop, maybe it turns into something. But yes, I'm surprised, but I like the move.
Okay. I can respect that, like not saying, hey, because he's my guy, because he's cheap, we're going to hang on to him as an albatross. We're keeping the best guys.
Yep.
Yeah. To that point, Craig, and you may get to this name, but Matt Nelson, they brought him in, signed him in the offseason and cut him. Like they're not bringing him back. He was supposed to be the swing tackle. So another indication that these guys aren't just going to hang on to the guys because who they brought in, they want the best guys. They want, as you've been saying, we've been saying for a long time, competition. Competition was held. These are the guys that won it. The other guys are gone.
Actually, what I did see yesterday too, which I don't know if this factors into it at all, but hey, you got social media, so you can rest on it as fact, fiction, or something in between. Our guy Phillips, who got cut by the Giants, brought back by the Giants, went and trained with the Eagles, got better, and then came to the Giants, is working out really hard. He's recovering from some injuries. I know the Giants were very happy and high on his play. So I'm seeing a lot of video on him that he's healthy.
Right.
So I know the Giants are in need of a swing tackle. I think that was in the chat a couple minutes ago. And maybe that's also something that's on the radar if he's that healthy. You know what I mean? Because
sure.
It's just video. You're just watching him doing pass sets, right?
Yeah.
But it's encouraging. It's definitely encouraging because they are going to need a swing tackle. Spartan, any thoughts?
I'd welcome him back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Craig, let me say this because this has been going around Twitter, and I know Cole just put it in the comments, but people are getting on Shane about the O-line drafting, but we haven't had an O-line coach to develop these guys. So I'm not going to be critical on Shane just yet. He gets a pass until we see what some of these guys do with Brasillo. Because again, a guy like Neal, and I'm not going to go into that whole wormhole, but the Cowboys had him as their top target, their top line target, right? What do we know the Cowboys are good at? Evaluating O-line talent. They have coaches that can develop them. The Giants didn't have a coach that could develop them. So the talk about, well, Shane, blah, 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 like, let's see what Brasillo does with the line and the young guys, and then let's come back and say, okay, you know what? Shane missed on drafting these old linemen.
I think what's tough too is everybody loved Evan Neal. I mean, if any team got him in the top 10, I mean, it's a knockout of the park. That's how it was looked at the time. Could scouts have really determined a difference between him and found concerns? I don't really know, because it's not like Shane got a guy that everyone's like, what kind of pick is that? Then he tries defending himself in the speech, the press conference, and then it turns into a dumpster fire of a pick. Those are the ones that get you fired when it seems like it's obvious that you shouldn't have done that, and the fans were right. I think of Kadarius Toney. I think of some of those misses that the Giants have had. Eli Apple. It's like, what are you doing? Okay, we don't feel good about this. Prove us wrong, and then they don't. Evan Neal wasn't that. It was like the no-brainer pick.
In fact, it's the opposite, right? You didn't know who really DeAndre Baker was. You had heard DeAndre Baker had already off-field problems, right? And you were like, oh,
right.
And then Tony was a guy, maybe he had some issues, maybe. I mean, Evan Neal was on let's even be conservative, he was a top 5 pick on 32 teams' boards.
Yeah.
Right? There, there's a lot of stuff floating around. You're watching him doing plyometrics and box jumping at 6'7", 290 pounds. Clearly he got, he had ups and he had explosiveness, and it went off the rails. So that
balance, those box jumps are about balance. Like the way he did it, splitting that's balance. So those things are supposed to translate over. So,
yeah. So I don't want to sit here and say, the jury's out, but it is awful hard to swallow when you think 32 other teams would have drafted him, Spartan, just like you mentioned. Here's the biggest one for me that, is this JMS. Like, there's people being hard on him that he's a bust. I don't think he's played enough to be a bust, but there is a little concern about injury prone, right? Since he's been missing a lot of time. I mean, he was, hey, Cole, what's up, man? Forgot to say what's up. Best center in the draft, right? I still think he has plenty of upside, but he has to figure out how to stay healthy. That's not in everybody's DNA, right? There are plenty of guys. We had speaking of centers, we had a center, I want to say 8 years ago. Was it JD Walton? I think it was.
wow.
Could never stay healthy. Tons of I think he went to San Francisco and had a couple good runs there, but a guy that just was always hurt with nagging injuries, right? So there are those guys that just at this level have a tough time staying healthy. I don't know, Sean. I mean, I'm assuming all these guys are on the same page with diet and sleep and, recovery. What's your theory on JMS and his play and where he kind of fits in the big picture?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, that people are saying they're not worried about the injury. It was just mostly precautionary there. I think, again, he was in there because he didn't get a lot of reps. He missed a lot of the training camp, didn't play in the first 2 preseason games. So you got to give him the reps. Again, another guy that comes in a rookie at the hardest position on the O-line because everything you have to do wasn't developed. But you saw some things differently from him early on that you're like, all right, I can see Brasillo making a difference with him. You can see some things that are there. The injury is a little concerning, but again, you can't call somebody a bust after, one season. And again, part of the the worst offensive line in NFL history, right? So it typically takes guys 2 to 3 years to develop. So we're all trying to rush, microwave all this talent coming in. Give him a second year. His draft profile said projected to be a good starter after year 2.
And can I also say this too? I mean, how bad was he last year? I don't recall him being severely bad. I don't think his rookie year was worse than Evan Neal's rookie year. They're not in the same stratosphere. So I would say JMS will probably come along just fine. Everybody remember something. Dex was not a home run off the bat in the first couple of years, right?
Either was Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas was
Thomas
awful.
had a much worse rookie year than JMS did. So just everyone take a chill pill. I know. We see these stories when these dudes do have unbelievable first years. That generally happens with certain position groups. Receiver, you see that a little bit more. Offensive line, cornerbacks need a little bit of time. I'm seeing the same stuff with Banks. Just relax. He had an okay rookie year. It wasn't spectacular. He wasn't Darrelle Revis yet. Do not expect that to happen with a year one cornerback.
Let me jump on that, Spartan. It's just freaking great point.
Yeah.
Here's what the majority of the fans don't realize. It's a team game. To be great, you need other guys around you that are all rowing in the same direction. So let's analyze what I'm trying to tell you. If you don't believe it, drop into the Giants Rush YouTube channel, find the Justin Pugh interview, and listen to what he's saying. That unlike any other position group on the field, the O-line needs continuity. You got to know what that guy's thinking, how he moves, when he picks people up, right? And, JMS got hurt early, and when he came back, he played with 4 different guards on the left and the right of him. So he's never going to be getting used to playing. Okay, it's Izudu. No, it's Bredesen. No, it's I can't even remember the third guy they flew in there.
And half the battle wasn't even just talent; it was the miscommunications because everybody kept rotating.
The guy who gave us the interview. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now
Did you watch that whole video on it, like how severe the miscommunication was in the Giants' offense last year with schemes, with blocking? It was a disaster.
It was terrible, and he'll never say anything bad about Johnson. But the easiest thing to see is they never worked in unison. When you watch the preseason now, you see guys that are hip to hip. You see guys that are working together. Like, it is night and day if you really looking and know what you're looking at to see the difference.
I also want to address something just to get this off my chest, because I'm looking at Master Will, because he's addressing it in the I want to throw it up here just because Mike's got a really
I was going to say that too. Good catch.
So it says Mike, fans use PFF to determine who's the best and the worst in the NFL. This fan base doesn't look at the other 31 starting centers in the league. Shout out to you, Will, because for multitudes of reasons, right? We definitely could pick up stunts. But here's the thing. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I learned this a long time ago because I've had battles with my PFF analysts before. So 6 years ago, I had a PF. I think Spartan was probably it was right before Spartan came on board, or maybe it was early on. So
I don't remember PFF in my time.
Okay. All right. So it was probably around. So Spartan's been with me 3 years, right? So it's got to be, 4 years ago. And I had a guy tell me that in the PFF world, with their made up, math and their algorithms, right, and how they look at, creating stat lines, and I was questioning sacks, and he told me that a half a sack is worth a full sack in a PFF algorithm, and I'm like, so if a guy gets to the quarterback at the same time as another guy and 2 guys bring him down, that's 2 sacks. How does that even make sense? So I'm not killing PFF. I'm just saying, for the people who take that as gospel, don't.
Yeah.
For the people who don't look at it and can use it for the rest of the league and only look at the ranking, stop. And use a little bit of the eye test, right? I mean,
well, that's the big thing with football. I mean, this is the hardest sport to just rely on metrics purely for the fact of trying to measure how good a player is.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm only telling you that story so to come full circle is the same thing with Banks. Like, I thought Banks had a great rookie year, to believe it or not.
I don't remember any plays where he got torn up. Maybe a 1 or 2, but I don't remember anywhere he's getting picked apart.
And again, you're on fire, Spartan, because that's exactly it. They take 1 or 2 plays. They take those 2 or 3 plays and compare it to the rest of the league on what they did that day. And you're like, Banks sucks. Banks is terrible. Banks won the Green Bay game with the knocking down a touchdown pass at the end of the game. Yeah. Nobody's raving about that. We need to keep it in check, people. We do not need to go off the rails.
Not to mention the quality of the people they're hiring now. They're having issues with who they're able to hire and people leaving. So, PFF, whatever it was before, it's not even the same. You're
listen, Crypto, you have a good point here. I like, you're going to see a correlation. Mahomes should be near the top, and at the bottom should be some of the crappy players. It's just people can use it as a factor for some sort of talent evaluation, but don't use it as the whole thing to paint the picture of the football player.
Yeah, it's not end all be all.
Yeah, it's a good guideline. It's got good benchmarks, but just because they say the guy's ranked 20th doesn't mean he's 20. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable saying their top 3 are probably the top 3.
Yeah,
you know,
I think PFF had our O-line not as the worst in football last year. That should tell you all you need to know about analytics. We were absolutely the worst football line this century.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep flying through guys getting cut. Before we're talking about the O-line. Shawnee, is there someone on the team who's on the bubble? Right? Is there someone there that you think? Because I'm thinking about a certain position group. It's in the chat, but I'm going to throw it out to you. There's one specific player group that has 2 players that are both pretty good that could go either way. So wanted to throw it out to you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I'm not sure, maybe, but I know what I'm thinking about. And the reason I'm going to say this is based on what I saw the other night. So I think Darnay Holmes is on the bubble. I think he's a good cut candidate because he played a lot of snaps against the Jets. Now, I know there were some injuries in that DB room, but the amount he played tells me that he is on the bubble and a good chance to get cut.
As in showing another team what he could do, or him digging himself out of a hole?
A little bit of both, probably digging out of a hole and the potential to put on tape what he can do. He had an opportunity to stand out. I mean, it's a defense that plays zone and he's good at zone. That was his strength and he didn't do anything. And again, in a game where it was basically everybody playing that needed to make a roster, he played, I think, almost the entire game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Mark says he thinks he's gone. He's not even on the bubble.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. How about you, Spartan? Any position group or any, certain 2 guys that you're on? Because I've got one specifically I'm going to bring up. I'm hoping maybe you're on the same wavelength.
Go right to your guy, because I'll be completely honest with you. I haven't even really been thinking about it. I'm just kind of rolling with the punches with how the depth chart lines up. And hopefully we address some of the gaps that we have at like corner and whatnot. Go ahead.
I can appreciate that. Sometimes you don't even care. You're like, just
I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert here.
Well, the debate is right now on Robinson versus Hodgins, right? So my personal opinion is that Hodgins stays easily because the fact that he can play the X, the Y, and the Z. Right. He's the only guy on the roster that can play any position at any time. Right. You got slots, you got insides, you got outsides. I mean, Hodgins can play any position. And for all the naysayers that said, oh, well, what happened to him? He fell off the map last year. He did, but that's not his fault. Jones goes down. And guess what? You've now got Tyrod and DeVito, and they don't work. They're not working with him throughout the years. There's no connection there. Right. Jones has got the connection with him from 2022, you rode into the playoffs, with Hodgins, right? So me personally, I like Hodgins. Again, plays all 3 spots. Younger guy, very healthy. But hey, Allen Robinson's a pretty damn good player too. So go ahead, Sean, thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, last year with Hodgins, it was that we talked about it ad nauseum. Like that wide receiver rotation made 0 sense last year. Right?
How many times did you tweet me during the game like this makes no sense?
Yeah, 0 sense.
Well, part of it, real quick, part of it was just the constant rotation. They never established a wide receiver one. Even if one guy, somebody's got to be better than the other. Somebody's got to play that position better. That drove me nuts.
Yeah, and the other thing that bothers me is, I mean, Robinson can add a lot to that receiver room. I do think he has some left in the tank. Hodgins gets overlooked because he doesn't have the speed like the other receivers do. The problem is, one of those receiver spots is going to a special teams guy. And that kind of bothers me of you're going to have like a guy like Gunner make it as a wide receiver because he's a special teams. Whereas you could keep a Robinson and a Hodgins if you didn't have to have one receiver as a special teams guy. Because you're not that. So I would like to see them both because again, I think Robinson adds a lot that maybe Hodgins doesn't do when you're teaching those younger receivers, he's got more years in the NFL that he can give those. Now, granted, Hodgins is a hell of a route runner,
Oh, yeah.
best route runner on the team. I'm sure, aside from maybe Neighbors, but so that's my take. I'd like to see them both make it and figure out the special teams.
And Peace is all over that. He's like, can Hodgins catch punts if he can, right? But the punts are going to be Gunner or McKenzie.
Yeah, which both are hurt right now. So they may have to get another guy to replace those guys. Both those guys might not even make the roster, or however they do it, the IR. And
because I'll tell you,
after 4 games,
if you cut them, they're not coming back. If you cut Allen and you cut Hodgins, neither one of them are coming back.
Yeah, they'll get picked up by somebody. So unless you add an extra guy and go lower on another position, which I don't know where you can, but that's the only other option is you carry one more receiver than what you normally do.
Right.
It's all good, especially too. We have a fullback now, so that makes the running
back.
Your
prayers have been answered.
What's that?
Your prayers have been answered.
Yeah, but
hey, listen, it does add a dynamic to an offense, though. I mean, we see it with San Francisco. It is cool when they ingrain them into the offense. I will say this: when we had Saquon, I don't think it made sense with his running ability. When you're a shifty running back, you don't want a second guy back there drawing in the entire defense to play tighter football. Now that it's not really oriented towards that, I mean, it really opens things up for us.
Yeah, and you saw it the other night in the Jets game. There was a couple runs where they would have been stopped behind the line of scrimmage, and that fullback made the block, and they got 2 to 3 yards extra because of it. So with the style that they're trying to do now, the fullback makes a lot of sense, and I like it. And he's shown out to do pretty well. So
yeah, I mean, he just needs a cowboy collar. I think that you have to be a proper fullback, in my opinion. Like get back the '90s cowboy collar on the shoulder pads
and a fullback number. He's wearing like 85.
It's got to be 44. I don't think there's any other number that works.
Yeah.
He'll get him something 44, 45, 49. He'll get something. Okay, cool. I mean, I just wanted to make sure I asked you guys what you thought about those two things, or if there's anyone else on the bubble, which again, Mark Thompson asked about roster. Like, we know pretty much the roster head to toe. We're basically like, there are 5 guys, right? 5 guys we're talking about. We're talking about Hodgins and Allen. We're talking about Darnay Holmes. We're talking about DeVito and Locke. We're talking about like how many other guys are we really talking about here? Like Gunner and McKenzie, like in a perfect world, they make the team, but they're both hurt right now. So you Bill threw in Cager, same thing. Like we're really talking about 6, 7 guys, right? That may be here and may not be here.
Yeah.
So I think everyone else is on the same page.
Yeah, wasn't there like 40-something guys that didn't play in the Jets game? Well, there's your guys that are on the roster, right? That is figuring out everybody else. So that tells you all you need to know. Anybody that didn't play in that game, aside from, JMS and Neil, they're on the roster.
Mark's got a question. Mark wants to know about who's tight end 3, who's TE3. I mean, whoever turns out to be the best blocking tight end, right? Because Bellinger can now catch passes. We know Theo's got phenomenal hands. It's whoever's going to, was it Stahl?
No, it's going to be Manhertz. He didn't play, and I don't think he was injured. So it'll be Manhertz, Johnson, and Bellinger is my guess.
And Manhertz is humongous.
Unless they change something, because Stahl was injured, and he did play a lot. So I don't know if he could be a practice squad candidate, but they didn't get to see a lot. So they may make that decision. I think it's going to come down to either Manhertz or Stahl, and Stahl played because he didn't play, most of the preseason. But my guess is Manhertz, because he's been blocking pretty well aside from that one miss.
Yeah. And again, he's god awful huge, but that's his thing. Manhertz is not going to catch any passes. Like that's, I still think tight end 1 is still Bellinger. He'll be freed up, getting back to what he was doing his rookie year before he got hurt. And then of course, Theo is just like you guys know, when we do the rush hour draft show, like I was like outside of, Brock, Theo was my favorite guy, and he went to a running school. They didn't even throw him the ball at Penn State. So I think Theo Johnson's going to be a better pro than he is college player. Other questions I got in here that guys are talking about, and we can I'll get your opinion. Spartan, you want DeVito, you want Locke. Locke sucks. I've told you guys for weeks, Locke sucks. I've told you Locke sucks. I don't know any reason to carry the cat. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but he's not a good NFL QB. Spartan, talk to me. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'd rather see DeVito out there. I feel that frustration too with Locke. He wasn't a proper backup, but I do believe there's quarterbacks in between the quality of Jones and DeVito, and probably even, I'm not going to go there. Never mind. But they can certainly be more formidable than Locke. Locke is not a good backup quarterback. Yes, he had a miraculous game against Philadelphia last year, but on aggregate, he is a bad quarterback. Not to say DeVito is Mr. Excellent. Obviously, we all like it from the fan perspective, right? I mean, but it's like, you know what? I'd rather lose and have some fun character back there than lose and just have some dud that we knew was going to suck.
Yeah. Sean, thoughts on this backup QB? Do they carry 3? Do they carry 2?
I think
is Locke there?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hard to cut him with $5 million. I don't know what his cap hit is, but I mean, I think that new rule that they just did with the emergency quarterback, I think they might have to carry 3. Based on that from what I was reading today. So it's gonna be interesting, but I don't know that you can cut Locke for what you signed him for. But again, I don't know what the dead cap head is. You got to look at that.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. But I think there's a good chance they carry 3 quarterbacks based on that new emergency quarterback rule, and he has to be on the roster or part of the 53 or whatever it was. So that changes things.
All right. So Drew Locke's 2024 cap hit is $5 million. Dang.
Yeah. And again, DeVito, because of that new rule, last year they had him on the practice squad, but I don't know that you can do that based on the rule change with the emergency quarterback.
Yeah, you're literally eating, $5 million by cutting him.
Yeah. So you really can't. You got to hope for the best. You got to hope that Dave's can develop him and do what he did. I mean, again, Dave's got 3 wins out of an undrafted free agent, right? So
yeah. What's up, Darius? Nice for you to join us. Appreciate that.
I think that those quarterback things, that's where the sky is falling mentality is coming right now on the Giants, is that they're looking at the quarterback room and it's influencing the rest of the view of the roster, because it's like, oh, we got Jones, DeVito, and Locke. We're screwed is the mindset.
Sadly, I mean, and listen, I'm trying to be as positive as I can.
And you're generally a very positive fan.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way, because Locke was not the right guy. And if Jones goes down, you're literally doing this. Like even with the talent that the Giants have accumulated, I am a believer in that the team is better now than it was last year, than it was the year before, and so on, right? The team has got better pieces now than it ever has, but there is a gaping freaking hole, at the quarterback spot when Jones is healthy. So if he goes down, you're literally like, we're just calling this the New York abyss, right? Because you can't keep going at it with, again, I like DeVito. Spartan made me laugh for a second. He's like, have a character back there. What the hell? I'd like to be able to have a backup quarterback that can play.
Yeah, I think you bring up an excellent point. It's like, I mean, the Locke's not pushing Jones. We can even, with the way he's projected to play, probably going to play, we could have had a quarterback type in there that could have pushed him. I know financially this would have been tough. This is in part why I wanted Tyrod back. He's not perfect himself, but I mean, you watch what he did against the Eagles, you watch what he do. It's like, all right, you got a guy who would be in year 3 of the system as a backup. Like, that would have been better than Locke, but I get the financials. I get it.
Yeah. All the above. Like I said, I'm rooting hard for Jones to have a good season.
Of course.
And while he's healthy, but damn, if he does go down, like, I'll cry my eyes out for another crappy year. So my fingers are crossed, okay, for you, Mr. Jones.
Right.
We'll get Sanders' son as our quarterback then, right?
Sure. I like Shador. I don't care what anybody says. I know who his father is, but Shador is a good player. He's a really good
I
quarterback.
love Deion Sanders. I mean, tell you what, let's not have this conversation right now on.
Yeah.
Not because
Man,
I mean, I listen, I love
it is
Prime
damn
in
early.
college. I loved him coming out of college. The only time I hated Prime was when he was playing with the Cowboys. That was
Sure.
it. But
Sure.
yeah, Deion in college, I was a big fan. Deion with the Falcons, big fan.
he's getting killed in the press right now for how much of an a-hole he is.
I don't
Right?
care. I'm an
Like,
a-hole. You think that
Nah,
bothers me?
dude, you on
I never had a
your
problem with
worst
Prime.
day
I
are
love
not
Deion.
are close to Deion Sanders being an a-hole.
Eh.
He's getting rung up right now in Denver because he's telling the press that certain reporters aren't allowed in to interview him anymore. Gots, dude. Who do you think you are? Like that's their job, dude. You can't ban
They
reporters.
the Italian came out there. He went Ungats. So okay. There you
Dude,
go.
I don't like it at all, man. And listen, the two Sanders kids, I don't know if they can crap without their dad. I just like, you know what I mean?
Shador's
Everything
better than
around
Shiloh. Yeah,
What's
Shador's better than Shiloh. Shiloh's
They
not
got to
he's-
get away from their own man. They got to be their
Yeah.
own player, their own person. He dictates every single move
And he's
they
projected to
make.
be a first-round pick with his dad in the situation, right? I
They
mean,
would have been a first-round
Yeah.
pick without him.
Yeah, Shador's got. I mean, he's got what you want in a quarterback. Take his dad out of the equation. Take out whatever you think about his dad in his equation. He's got a strong arm. He's a smart quarterback. He can pass in the
Man.
pocket. He can scramble.
Can you
I mean,
imagine?
I watched him at
Deion
Jackson.
Sanders?
I watched him at Jackson State too, not just at Colorado. So, kid's
Oh,
a gamer.
Who's the head coach at Jackson State?
I know it was his dad, dude. We get it. You hate him. You hate him.
It's not that
It's
I
all
hate
right.
him. I don't like
that
Daddy
was amazing
Ball.
what he did.
I listen. This is gonna be an
Daddy ball.
unpopular opinion, but I don't have a problem with what he did with that reporter when you look at why that reporter was out. Because I wish the Giants would do the same shit with some of the reporters and the questions they
Oh,
ask.
protecting his kids. Give me a break, dude.
No, it wasn't just that, dude.
No,
It
Cole
wasn't-
just
it
saying
was-
I'm mad at the guy for protecting his kids. Daddy
No.
ball, dude. This is what we all fight against all our whole lives. High school, college, you fight against daddy ball. This is all daddy ball, dude. Let
Dude,
them stand on
Hey,
their own.
Christie had his
he's taking
father-in-law as the coach, right?
Yeah,
Who
he's
did?
taking heat out there because of they don't like the way he's running the program out in Colorado. Like he's shocking the system, and Colorado is not the area that likes a lot of change, and that's where he's getting the heat from. The fact that players transferred out of that program, the way they were let go, what he said when he took over the program, like he's getting a lot of unnecessary heat, in my
I
opinion.
disagree. I disagree.
That's
I
all right.
disagree
We can't
because-
always agree.
No,
Can't
but
always
you know
agree.
what? Last year they loved him. It was Deion's the savior, Deion everything. They
I'm
made
talking about the
special-
press. The press. The
No,
press
they were
ended
all
up-
duty. Nah, man. He came and turned that thing around. The guy can coach. That's not the issue. But now he's all high and muddy. It's always about Deion's ego. Those poor kids are just daddy ball. They should have went out and played and crushed it somewhere else. But then the Giants draft him, and we have to deal with Deion Sanders is in the press conference. Deion Sanders calling plays. Deion Sanders. Oh my God, I'm not
He's
dealing
not going to
with
do that
I
when
am
a kid
not-
gets
Kinda
drafted.
can't, right?
They
I mean,
probably
he's
said the
worked
same thing at Jackson State.
Colorado.
They probably
Yeah,
said the same thing at Colorado.
College is different. And dude, look at his coaching staff. He's got Warren Sapp on that
That's the
coaching
D
staff.
coach. Yeah, the D line
He's
coach.
got
I
Ed
forgot about
Reed.
that.
Those guys are going to be whatever his players are. They're going to be ready to play in the NFL. Like that's
How'd they-
all I care about.
How'd they make out last year?
They won. Let's see, they won what? 4 games, 5 games, however many it was. And how many they win the year before that? 1. In year 1, he had a drastic turnaround, dude. Come on, that's all right.
I think the bottom line. And by the way, what he did at Jackson State, I mean, he made them a phenomenal
Absolutely,
team.
the guy can recruit.
Oh yeah, and so what I'm
Absolutely.
excited to see here is, if a quarterback isn't primed to be good, just in general, any of these quarterback prospects, you know who I want to get. Not bringing him up because it's not worth the argument. But Sanders, I mean, I'm curious to see how he can play. I'm going to be very agnostic towards the coaching staff and the whole Colorado, everything about it. I just want to see how he rolls out and plays.
Sure they're painting. I'm sure they're creating a prime office right now at MetLife. Whatever.
Oh my God.
Gotta have Deion.
Hey, if it wasn't for nepotism and fatherhood involvement, we wouldn't have Eli Manning. He would have retired a Charger.
Dude, he didn't. They're totally. Don't get me wrong. He's wrong for stepping in and telling him not to play for San Diego, but they are not the same, dude. They are not the same.
What if he steps in and says, "Don't play
Daddy
full
ball,
time?"
daddy ball. But it's okay because it's Deion. If it was anybody else, they'd be like, "Oh, that's bull crap, daddy ball. The kid can't play on his own. He can't do it by himself. He needs his dad." It's only because it's Prime, and everybody wants to make sure they kiss Prime's ass. Come on, you guys are paper thin on this, man. If this was anyone else in the NFL, anyone else, you'd be like, "Daddy ball, dude. No daddy ball. Daddy ball is supposed to end in 8th grade."
I don't know, man. When your
kid
dad's
play.
a Hall of Fame coach and he's turning around programs wherever he goes, it's hard to say it's daddy ball. Daddy ball is when the kid isn't good and he's playing because
No, it's
the
not.
dad's the
No.
coach.
It doesn't matter if the kid's good or not. No, it
To me,
doesn't.
that's daddy ball to me. Daddy ball is I'm going to go start my own team so my kid can play because he's not good enough to play on the other team.
If the kid's good enough, he makes it on his own. He doesn't need dad as his head coach everywhere he goes. And the kid is good. What does he need dad for?
He's got the luxury of having a Hall of Fame father as a coach.
What?
It's not.
You're trying to tell me there's not
Shedeur and
other Hall
Shiloh
of
can
Fame?
do it on their own, but they're fortunate to have that. Dude, daddy ball literally is. You see people that start teams because their kids aren't good enough to play on the team, so they're like, "All right, I'm gonna go start my own team."
Man, you don't even have kids. I'm telling you right now, I can see.
Oh, did you just throw I don't have kids out there?
Yeah, you just defined daddy ball, but you're not a daddy.
Yeah, but I'm a coach who had to deal with daddy ball all the time.
Not every daddy ball is about a bad kid. There's
yes,
plenty
it is.
Of good kids. There's plenty of kids that are good, and the dad takes care and makes sure he starts, make sure he gets all the glamour, right? Why do the kids got to follow the dad? Why can't they go off on their own and do their own thing?
Why would you not want to play for your dad, who's a Hall of Fame player, and learn how to be prepared to play in the NFL? Dude, you're not talking about some
daddy ball.
Oh my God, you're wrong. It's okay. You're wrong.
Hey man, if I was, I'd want to make it on my own, dude. I wouldn't want to make it.
You're sounding as bad as crypto right now, man. Come on,
man. Crypto's on the meds, man. Anyway, so let's talk about. We're not. You know what? We should just call him Coach Prime, future Giants coach, because no one else is going to be able to coach his kid because he's been coaching him since he was 4. So. He's not going to be able to play in the pros without his dad either. So,
all right, guys, I got to be that nurse that's taking care of the retirement community and breaking up the argument over things that aren't relevant. It's like, come on, Grandpa, take your medication. We're back. We're back. All right, the millennial here today, as always. Come on, boys, we got to get back on track.
Yeah, let's talk cornerbacks. Where do we find one? Who's out there? We see guys getting paid that aren't, that are a little bit washed up on the older side. What are we doing with cornerback 2? Can we be creative? I told you guys ahead of time, weeks ago that Flott was not going to be the guy. Here we are. Flott's not the guy. What do we do here, Spartan?
I mean, listen, I'm not opposed to Adoree Jackson coming back. I mean, there's another dude where it's like, I think he can hold his water better than some of the other, the guys that are slated to go in there, especially if we have a depth issue. So I mean that's one of them, and then thinking outside of the realm there, is J.C. Horn still available or is he gone now?
Good question, Sean.
He'd have to trade for J.C. Horn. Now here's what I'll also say: there's a guy that reportedly might be cut by the Buccaneers, Keenan Isaac, who's a really good cornerback, so you can bring him in if he is let go, unless somebody else tries to pick him up. But that is a name that recently is being put out there as of a couple hours ago that is rumored to be cut. Now, again, listen, I don't know how we can say Flott isn't the guy yet because he was injured, so he didn't play. So, we haven't seen Bowen's scheme. We haven't seen in the preseason. You're not going to see Bowen's scheme. So I get you're saying that, but again, he was injured, so he didn't play in the games because he was injured, not because he wasn't good enough to play. Now, Nick McLeod worries me more than Flott does because we've seen Flott do well in games. We've seen what he can do.
From the slot.
Worst case, yeah, okay. So worst case scenario, you moved Phillips to the outside.
There we go.
Worst case scenario.
That's why you get paid the big bucks because when you Spartan, we drafted a slot in the 3rd round. It's rough when you need a CB2. And you draft a slot in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we felt that way from the beginning. He was playing that fifth spot at cornerback at LSU during his stretch there, right? So, or the third spot. So, the nickel. Um, Look, I'll go back to Adore Jackson. I mean, he is
Available.
available. I think he can hold down the fort. But outside of that, what a Woozy from the Bengals. I'm trying to think through some other options. Really, I mean, just go for a guy that's not going to break the bank, but can also hold down the fort. I mean, Adore just makes the most sense.
I don't even
Um,
know, with respect, I don't even know that Odori can hold down the fort, man. He was not even given effort last year,
We
like,
need
at
depth,
all.
though. We need some sort of
At
aspect.
all. So I don't even think they would want him back. Here's the other thing I'll keep bringing up. Like, you look at Tennessee's cornerbacks when Bowen was there, they weren't big name guys. Like, they're not household names when they were there,
I
So
don't.
I don't
Yeah,
know how much he values having stud cornerbacks in his defense.
that'd be
So
a
that's
damn
what I'm
shame if he
saying.
didn't.
and
Yeah.
I'm
Jay,
just saying. I
Because he plays more zone and he plays more nickel, right? So you're not playing press man, so you have, and he's playing a lot of too high safety, so you have help over the top. So that's why I'm saying, like, we haven't like what's getting exposed in practices. They're lining up and playing man because Bowen's not going to do his schemes. So, and in one-on-one drills, guys are getting beat because they're playing man. Like, they're not going to play that much man. From what I've seen or read about Bowen, they're not going to play that much man. It's
That's
going to be
true, and
mostly
I am
zone.
concerned about that. I'll be a little bit honest with you.
Yeah.
and Banks is better in playing man than he is in the zone, so that's going to take an adjustment. Jay's also saying that Horn can't stay healthy. There's a lot of validity there. And
Again, guys, we're probably just looking at depth at this point. I mean, I don't really know like what legit like quarterback 2 is out there and available right now. That's like they can totally start day one.
that's why I'm curious if
Yeah.
Phillips can actually do it, because I mean the guy has just got a lot of moxie to him, and he's definitely fun to watch. So if I had to choose the two, I'd rather push Flott back inside where his natural position is. If he's struggling out there. Now again, we didn't see enough surface area to know if Flott can do it or not, but we're up against the gun here, right? So if you have to make a decision,
exactly.
maybe Phillips starts getting reps out there. If you don't like McLeod had a great end of the year last year. Maybe now, as Sean, you just alluded to, you're not really happy with him right now.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I would also say, I mean, you could look at if one of the guys is available and Tennessee's DB backfield. Is it Murphy? I want to say, I forget who the other guy was. So, I mean, again, at this point, we don't really know anything. Like, it's hard to say. I mean, I know cornerback 2 was an issue or concern coming in, but we don't know how they're going to be. So you got to give him at least 3 weeks to know what we have as a secondary. And Belichick said that today. Like, you're not going to know until week 4 of what you have at positions because of the way everything's set up right now.
And I'm going to disagree with you, Mark, that Banks is way better at bump and run than he is in zone. I'm just, I was a big fan of bringing Banks here. I'm not saying he can't play zone. I'm just saying he's better in the bump and run. He's better with his hands on you, right? He's physical corner. But either way, that CB2 is definitely now, and I think we all agree, like, it is not just a today problem, it's a tomorrow problem too. Like, they need bodies in that spot.
Yeah.
And it sucks that we have to go into the year that thin.
Yeah, I mean, we're really arguing about trade. Like, if they can get any of these guys at a reasonable price, I mean, it's one of those things that is obviously a flaw with all these guys, but got to make it happen. Got to make it happen. Can I ask you both? I mean, what are your and Craig, if we could start with you, I mean, what are your thoughts on Bowen's scheme? I mean, you're a little concerned or no?
A little concerned always because it's new, right? It's new. It's not what we've seen the last 2 years. When he got here, his thing was, I want to stop the run. I want to rush the passer. And for me, as we know, we joke about it all the time. It's called New York Giants rush because I'm all about winning Super Bowls with the pass rush, and we haven't had one. So I was excited that, he was going to let these guys go. So yes, a little concerned because it's new, but in the grand scheme of things, Mike, I'm really hoping to have this, bringing Burns in, and, if Okereke is healthy and McFadden is healthy and Dexter's healthy, like, the pass rush has got to be better. So I'm excited about that.
Sure.
Yeah, the pass rush is going to help the secondary. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. And I said this to you on Twitter, Spartan, is Bowen ranked statistically higher in every single defensive category than Wink did last year. They were number one in red zone. And that's what matters. Like, I don't care how many yards they give up. If they're not scoring points, then I'm good with that. Like, number one, they didn't give up a lot of points. And again, it's not going to be one of those things where they're giving up 40-yard chunk plays. It's going to be they're giving up 10, 15-yard passes, which a lot of teams do because it's an offensive league now, right? But he was statistically higher in every single defensive category out there and number one in red zone defense. So if you're not giving up points, again, you can give some yards. I know it pisses you off about the bend don't break, but if they're not scoring points and they're scoring field goals and they're going to get after the quarterback, like it's not a Pat Graham where it's like, oh, we're going to hope for a pass rush and hope for the best and blah, 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 blah.
But that kind of was a similar, that was a bend don't break, and they were very good in the red zone defense. The problem is we were in the red zone a lot.
Yeah, but again, they weren't aggressive. They didn't have a good pass rush, so it's different, right? So I agree with Craig. Like concerned because it's new defense, but when you look at rankings, he was statistically better than Wink's defense last year. Like,
yeah, the only thing that holds me back about just that in general is, and obviously we had a lot of turnovers, production on defense that helped us a big time, so that makes up for a lot of it. But they were out on the field so much on defense last year. And sometimes I feel like the stats and those numbers get a little bit blown up compared to like it's like the yards given up per minute that they're on the field. It's like those are the aspects. When you start evening those things out, I get a little concerned. I just feel like in general when we go from like a Spags type defense where it's more of a man coverage base, and that's really what I'm focused on. I'm not really worried about the front seven, but we had Jordan Running on the show say the same thing. Like, I know Wink really gave up a ton of big yards on runs.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be a team that gets torched on the ground than a team that gets torched in the air. That really does concern me. But again, this is just we're setting our concerns out there. I'm not wholeheartedly against
that. Yeah, but to that point, Spartan, that wears on the defense more. When you're giving up a ton of yards, it tires the defense out, including the secondary. And remember, Wink gave up a lot of chunk plays in the air too. Like he had guys that were getting beat deep. He gave up a lot of third and longs.
There was some bad games. The Saints game was abysmal. Like we watched that. Craig, you brought that up on the show. It's like, man, Wink takes them off.
Yeah, it does. And again, I know they were on the field a lot, but you expect that they won't be on the field this much. But again, what we saw in the preseason of you gave up some plays, but they tightened up. They kept them from scoring. They were physical. They were aggressive. They were guys laying hits. You didn't see that a lot with Wings defense. The guys couldn't tackle. They weren't coming up and
they're going for the ball, right? That was the problem, which is like
or just shitty tackling, like not even just going for the ball.
Team, you remember that dragging?
Well, I mean, to Sean's point is if you're giving up 4.5, 5.5, 6 yards a carry, you were getting a beat down. I mean, those guys, it's going to wear down that defense faster because if they're at the second level, Mike, now your safeties are constantly in the box making tackles. Like you're basically saying, if we can't stop the run and they're averaging 5 to 6 yards a carry, who do you think's making those tackles? The linebackers and the safeties. You are constantly just pounding all the time.
Can I answer something? I didn't play defense. I played offense, and on the defensive line, it might not matter so much. But why would covering defensive wide receivers and getting torched there be less exhausting than covering the run?
Physicality. You're coming up and having to make tackles, dude. You get hit by a 200+ running back, and then you got to go run against a guy who's running 4.3 speed or 4.4 speed.
Physicality makes sense. Yeah. That was just pure exhaustion.
I actually think it's funny because Sean brought up a point a second about bad tackling. Before they had McFadden, they had what's his name in there with the dreads. He was he came from Dallas. He was freaky athletic.
Smith,
Jones.
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith, freaky athletic, but couldn't tackle anybody. He'd run you down and try to hang on your shoulder pads and pull you down. And then next thing you know, you've got, Jalen Smith. Thank you, Chris. Next thing you know, you get Okereke and McFadden, which are downhill guys. And all of a sudden it looks different, right? But if you're getting pounded, Mike, it's especially if you're talking about, if they're at the second level, you're looking at your stats and you're looking at Simmons and Belton and Pinnock making all your tackles, like when Antrell Roll had to make all your tackles, right? So there's a balance, man. Like stopping the run and stopping the pass, right? I don't know if you need one more than the other. There has to be a balance, but you wear those guys down quick if they're constantly pounding at you. Can you imagine if Dexter Lawrence, he's taking 70 snaps and can you imagine that you're giving up 5 yards a carry? That poor dude is like just getting banged on all day long.
Yeah. And the misconception is people say it's a passing league. Well, that doesn't mean they don't run anymore. It's a pass first league. You look at teams like Miami and San Francisco, how much they run the ball. Like
49ers.
Miami's got that receiving core and they still have, Raheem Mostert and Ashane running like all over the defense. So passing league doesn't mean you don't run. And 95% of the coaches still say, hey, we got to be able to run the ball, stop the run, protect the passer, get after the quarterback. So
listen, if there's one aspect they have to keep in if they really want to compete. And by the way, statistically, we're the only team that had such a good rate of this that missed the playoffs is the turnover ratio, right? Our defense produced a ton of turnovers. They have to do that. I mean, if they're going to be a team that's going to run into issues, they got to be able to do that. That's a survival thing. They got to be able to produce turnovers.
You're hoping that Newbin can step in for McKinney, right? Because right now he's hurt and he hasn't shown any flashes yet on that side of the ball. But if he can produce that, if he can be a turn, like, listen, love McKinney or hate McKinney, he knew how to turn the ball. He knew how to get to the ball. Yep. Pinnock had a pretty decent year. You're right, Spark. It's a great point.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready to see these rings?
Let's do it. Show us the rings.
Yeah.
All right. So today I was I think Jay said I was bragging about my birthday. I don't think that was it. I was happy I had another birthday. How about that? Another time. It's always good to have another day around the sun. That's not bragging. That's being very thankful, right, to the man upstairs. But today, looking outside my window, this packaging alone is pretty badass, right? You say this is heavy duty back. Do we keep 4 running backs? Yes, you keep 4 running backs. I'm pretty sure at this point you're keeping 4 running backs. You're keeping 5 if you want to count the fullback. 39th birthday. Love Chris Peace. Thank you very much, my friend. So in the front,
like no legend showed up at the door.
No, but dude, that would have been sick as hell. But I'm so far down in South Jersey, they probably went like this. Where's this cat live? They're like, I'm not going to Eagles territory to bring him that. I might get killed.
Yep.
So look, check it out. Right, opens up like this. Packaging is insane. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, this box is it's hard, right? It's not soft. It's packed really nice. You open it up. It's got a letter here from Merritt and Tish in here, right? It's a little hard for you guys to see, but so that's what it looks like, right? So I'll show you this first. The ticket, it's pressed in glass. Okay. Trying to see, there's a lot of glare from the light, but it's got like, all the Giants legends on it. But on the back is the actual first ticket from 1925.
Oh, wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And the Eagles used to be called the Yellow
Jackets, right? Frankfurt.
Yeah. So that's the actual ticket. And this thing is a 1/2 inch thick.
Nice.
So this is not like some wavy plexiglass. I'll even try to give you this if this makes a difference.
Yeah, that's solid.
It's solid and it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And there's the ticket. You can see all the players on there with Giff and Strong and Eli and Harry's on there, right? And then right next to it is this mahogany box that, I mean, again, I got to give them all the credit in the world. And if you saw the tweet I put out there, we've interviewed probably 20, 25 guys that have played in the Super Bowl and gone to Super Bowl. So this is all their sweat right here. Their sweat equity right here. I'll move the big box over. So this is what the rings came in. It's about 4 inches wide, 6 inches long, mahogany box. It's got, again, sparing no expense. This is a wood box, plexiglass top. Oh, baby.
Wow, that's sharp.
I mean, that is legit as it comes, my friends.
Yeah.
You
Right?
let me try them on at the next Giants tailgate?
I could charge people to put them on. Yeah. Here's the thing. I've asked, like, are they plastic? Are this? They are regular rings, like you would get from a high school or a college. I don't know
Really?
how to like. If I had, hear about this. Look, or like they're solid, right? And they look.
Yeah, wow.
Did a great job.
Much
They
better.
look fantastic. They look fantastic. Now, if I put one on my ring finger, I might have a little trouble getting it off. Right? They're a little bit tight. Right. So my question, I'll throw it out to you guys. So what's your favorite Super Bowl? Like, do you have a favorite Super Bowl? And do you have a favorite memory? Spartan, like you're a little, you're younger than us, which by the way, I am envious of, but what's your favorite Super Bowl?
Well, I'm going to go with the one that I was at. I mean, guys, let me just give you a little bit of backstory here. All right. And this is really what contributed to me being a big Giants fan, and have only gotten into the game itself, but haven't really gotten into the full details. So, my dad, and I can't thank him enough, took me to Super Bowl 42, along with my grandfather. The year before, we were in the parking lot after the Giants blew a game to Jeff Garcia-led Eagles. And I'm crying on the ride home, and I'm like, Dad, if the Giants ever make the Super Bowl, will you take me? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll take you. To his credit, he kept his word on that, because the next year, after the Green Bay, after the field goal against Green Bay, he went online to try to figure it out and make sure it wasn't, too specific to, or too hard to get, because it actually was tough to get tickets to the Packers game with Big Blue Travel. But with the Super Bowl, it was actually very easy. So he got 3 tickets. He said, we're going to Phoenix. It was so cool knowing that I was going to the Super Bowl at 11 years old. And I would have never thought that the Giants were going to win that game, and no one did. And we just went because it was going to be an awesome, memorable father, son, grandfather moment. And then obviously,
awesome.
We all know what happened. So I peaked in 5th grade, but that's all right. It was totally worth it.
Dude, that's an awesome experience. Your dad and your grandfather had 3 generations going to a Giant Super Bowl, man.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That was special. And you know what? I will say this too. I'm glad it was in Phoenix and not like Minneapolis or something like that. It's
Right.
like that was a nice little cherry on top. I mean, we could have watched that anywhere, but there it is, Craig. You got the ring, man.
So yeah, all the rings, have the engravings on the side. Like this says Giants 20, Bills 19. It's got, I mean, again, they're glass, but I'm sure if you dropped it, it would break. But they are 1000% replicas. I mean, there's no, I can't even tell you how impressed I am with every ounce of the design. There's no corners that cut. I mean, the mahogany boxes, all this stuff that they didn't have to do, they did it. I mean, like I said, like, look at this thing. I mean, again, I know it's a little hard to, because of the light gives you a reflection, but
is that silver or gold? It's hard to tell with the.
So they're both, right? So this one here is predominantly gold, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But if I flip over to 2007, 2011, they're pure silver.
Because in comparison, so you can tell the difference.
Okay.
So
look at this. Look at the side of this one. And by the way, they're heavy.
Yeah.
Like this would be like, if you would want a Big Ten or an SEC, ring,
Yeah.
like, again, this is the replica. This is what they wear.
Yeah.
But from a quality standpoint, I mean, I'm assuming that the weight may be heavier, with the diamonds and so forth. This is just glass, but the detail that goes into the side, I wish I could get that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I showed at the show exactly what they did there. And the reason I have this one, it was a gift to me because it actually has Taylor's name on the side.
Wow.
So yeah, they did well with those rings, Craig, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
and real quick, shout out to the Giants organization for doing this. That was very generous of them. Mara, Tish, that was a great move. They got criticized a couple years ago for doing the Pepsi thing, rightfully so. But I just, this has just been a tremendous move by the Giants for the fans. That really, really shows the class of the Maras.
Yeah, they did it right for the 100th anniversary for sure.
They did.
Yeah,
That's where we
and
go.
I mean, again, the simple rings are a little bit easier to make out. Some of the markings on it. It says Big Blue 100, right? And then, what's really cool is the whole 39-20 over Broncos. If I put it on an angle, maybe.
Yeah, you can see it 39-20 with the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
there.
with the Rose Bowl logo. I mean,
Yeah,
again, so
it's
this one-
awesome, dude. I'm definitely jealous.
Yeah.
So my son was wearing all of them on all his hands, and he's like, he's doing this for his Instagram. He's like, look at me, I'm Mahomes. I was like, no, dude, no, you're not Mahomes. I'm like, you could be Sims, you could be Eli, you can't be Mahomes. Yeah, just really blown away by the whole thing. Like, I guess I've got some pretty good Super Bowl memories. I remember, the '86 Super Bowl. Like I was like, I was super young in high school, and I had like my first girlfriend, and I went to her house to watch the Super Bowl, and her dad was a big smoker. And when the field goal went wide, he stuck a cigarette right into my forearm, and like, because the whole place, like, it was over. Like, people were like just distraught. The game was over. Nobody was like, don't worry, it's not over till it's over. Like, it fell over. It fell over. And, cigarette hanging out of his mouth, you're doing the, and I took a cigarette right in the forearm. I was just like, I never forgot
right
that.
at the field goal.
Yeah. As soon as the field goal went wide,
you probably didn't even feel it, right?
Oh, I felt it.
Never mind.
Yeah, I felt it.
Man. Well, my favorite was 86, followed closely by the 07 one, but 86. So 86 and 90 were special. 86 was special because that was a special team. We were in the basement. I was a teenager. It was my father, my uncles, and a close friend of the family. We're all Giants fans, and obviously they're all older than me, so they suffered through a lot of lean years, and then they see that. And then for 90, we had the same crew back, same spot, same seat, same everything.
Oh, yeah.
We were in the basement of the house, and when that field goal went wide right, I jumped up, and I knocked out one of the panelings in the ceiling, because back then it was those old, like, crappy, like, paneling things they had.
Yeah, the drop ceiling.
Drop ceiling, yeah. So I jumped up, and I knocked the thing right out when that field goal went right. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, but, because the saying is, that saying, you never forget your first. So I always go back to 86.
Well, I always say this too. I mean, like you said, the Giants fans went 30 years there without a championship, and how great that must have felt, for somebody who was born in like the 40s, who had been waiting their whole life to really be able to watch that outside of just being a kid. I mean, that it makes the suffering worth it. And I know, when an older fan says, it doesn't want to hear about a younger fans complaining, I get it, because that was a long stretch. So, and there weren't playoff breakups in between like we had in 2016, 2022.
I'll tell you what makes this one so freaking cool. All right. On the side. What's that, Strawn?
No, go ahead. I would say, I think they have what they have on the side, right? Is that what you're going to say?
Exactly. On the side, it says 11 straight on the road.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, like, dude, it gives me kind of chills thinking about it, man, because it was like, we're never going to lose again. We are just beating the crap out of anybody's stadium that we go to. We don't lose. Amazing.
Yeah.
This one's actually very different than the other ones, because it's like, it's kind of round and it's kind of square. The other ones are like, the first one is very rectangle. This one's very square.
Yep.
And then, of course, you get the round. And this is my least favorite one, to be honest with you. The round one. It's cool.
Yeah.
I get it. Hey, special shout out to that Super Bowl, though, because when you go from a 3 championship team to a 4 championship team, like, you're just almost in a class of your own. There's only a few teams that can, say that they're there. Now, back then, we were actually ahead of the Patriots and the Chiefs. Now, the Pats have passed us, and the Chiefs are tied with us. But, it's a special class when you're up ahead of all those teams.
Well, that's why, too, like, guys like my age, Craig's age, and a little bit younger and older have a different perspective, because we've seen 5 Super Bowls and 4 Lombardi trophies, right? So we've seen a little bit more, and it's we've been fortunate to get 4 Super Bowl trophies and
We've only
win them,
had
right?
8 NFC East championships.
Yeah. So
Since the
like
Super
guys
Bowl
like your
era,
age
so
and
we had
younger,
4
it's
Super
tough.
Bowls.
Yeah. You guys your age and younger, it's a little tough that like they haven't really seen that much winning or whatever it is. So I get that perspective
Yeah.
too. But
Right, like, correct, real quick, does your son remember any of the Super Bowls?
No, because he was born in 08, so he was
Yeah.
4.
Right.
yeah.
My daughter remembers a little bit of it, right? A little bit of it. Like we had, I was really good friends with a guy in Boston, big Patriot fan. He sent us a bunch of photos from there, and he brought back 2 teddy bears for my daughter, and
That's nice.
we named them Eli and Plex, right? So she always has an affinity towards Eli Manning and Plexico Burris, So, but again, he doesn't have any memories, but he's watched the helmet catch 1,000 times, and
Yep.
and like you guys, regardless of how old and decrepit and get off my lawn we are, I totally get the fact that, like, man, if you're a young cat, under the age of 30, like, you've seen a lot of losing. You know what I mean? Because there's 12 teams in the NFL that have never won a Super Bowl before. Like, it must really suck to watch those teams
Imagine
because
being a Browns fan your whole life.
Or a
Yeah.
Lions fan.
Or a Lions fan. I live with them in Michigan. It's like, that's why Michigan, the University of Michigan, has such an enormous fan base of people who didn't go there. It's because that team gave them pride. The Lions never did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything, like I said, major shout out to all the sweat equity put in from, the guys, not all of the Giants, but, special shout out to the guys that have given us some time, like Leonard Marshall and Carl Banks and Kevin Boss and Pepper Johnson, Kavika Mitchell, Mathis Kiwanuka, David Deal, Dominic Hickson, Jake Ballard, Richie Soybert, Lawrence Tynes. We interviewed a bunch of these guys. So it's like major shout out to those cats,
Yes.
because again, like, it's not easy to win. Sometimes, we get upset with some of these folks. Like, it's just not easy to win in the NFL. It's just not, it's a fine line between being good and bad. And Sean and I today, Spartan, this guy was saying, JMS sucks and I know it. And I know it, and I know it, and I know it. And we're like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, and KT sucks, and he's going to have 5 sacks.
Oh,
and
please.
Like, and it goes
We
on
just
and
had
on
11
and
and
on.
a half last year.
Yeah. No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it goes on and on and on. And you ask yourself, you're like, all right, look, sometimes there's some reasoning for feeling a certain way. There's no reason to think that Kayvon Thibodeau is going to have 5 sacks, right? Like, he could get hurt. But like the projection of a guy could be 9 to 15, not 5 to 7. Like, so people are just very angry, and I can only just chalk it up to, like I said, like, it is a Jones thing because he's polarizing. But if Jones was gone and Barkley was here, would we not be doing the same thing with Barkley? Because they hated Barkley too.
Depends on who replaced Jones.
Yeah.
If it's Drew Lock, then no. Then we're just. We're marching to the stadium, and they probably would have had to given us more than just rings.
Yeah, Cold is right on. We've been one of the most toxic fan bases, out there for a long time. But people they don't like the players. They don't root for the players. I don't get it. There's guys that I don't love, but like, man, I'm rooting hard for them, right? I want them to do well.
Hard for Guy Wimper.
Oh my God, we don't go one show without mentioning Guy Wimper's name.
And people think I'm positive all the time, but man, I was calling for Tay Crowder's head for 2 years. Didn't want him on the roster, right? Like, I'm positive about good players, but I'm going to criticize the Giants as well. Like, miserable for 4 years with Shermer and Judge as the head coach, like absolutely miserable. But you have coaches and a GM now where you should be able to see, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can see the vision, right? Like, you're getting better play. And people give me a hard time about talking about coaches, but I'm sorry, coaching matters. Coaching absolutely matters. It's why head coaches get fired. It's why, Daboll made it to the playoffs his first year after taking over for Judge, because he made better decisions than Judge did. Like,
Also,
crazy.
just nobody wants to be patient. I understand because they want to win. I get that too. But like sometimes you just have to realize it's not greener on the other side. We already went through the Shermer and the Judge and the McAdoo. Like we tried like churn and burn.
Yeah, what are the odds we get a better coach right now? I mean, you think Shermer was winning 3 games with DeVito?
Listen, Shermer was a great
No.
offensive coordinator. He's just not a head coach.
Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, guys, there were some games that we were totally in and just absolutely blew it in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
we need like Sean, yes or no? We need better players, right?
yeah, and we have, like, you look at this roster compared to 2022. Put them up side by side and tell me this isn't a far better roster than what we had in 2022. I dare you to tell me that. And if you tell me that it's not, then I'm going to tell you you don't know football. And I
will
don't
say
care
this,
who's
when we saw
upset
the
over
Texans
it.
make the playoffs last year, right after being a horrible team, the Giants right now are a much better team than the 2022 Texans. I'd go as far as to say we're almost a quarterback away from at least being very good. I'm not talking like scratching 9-7. No, from being like an 11-win team.
And the Texans caught lightning in a bottle. That doesn't happen all the time. They got a great head coach. They got a quarterback that worked. That's not the norm. That's the exception. And people think that the Texans is what should happen all the time. That does not happen all the time. It really doesn't.
We are better positioned to be as good as the Texans right now, and the Texans were when they ended that season. Though what I'm saying is we have talent throughout our team right now. Right, the elevation that Stroud brought was enough to get them 10 wins after being whatever they were, was something horrible. But the Giants are way closer to that. We already have the coach on hand, right?
Yeah.
We already have depth or talent scattered throughout the team. Not incredible, but it's good. It can work. And if we get the quarterback situation figured out, we're in good shape.
And there's 2 ways to build a roster. You can get the quarterback and then try to build a team around him, and then you go through the growing pains and hope you don't screw up the quarterback, or you build the talent and then get the quarterback. So it's not one way to build a roster. And the Giants are going with, all right, we got a guy. If he doesn't work out, we're going to get rid of him. And when the next guy comes in, we've surrounded him with talent. So they're in a win-win, in my opinion.
I'll give you 2 quick perspectives because I'm right on par with Darius. I've said this before. If you have a healthy Gano, you may win 3 extra games, right? I mean, like, again, I woulda, shoulda, right? But I'm just making a point that a couple injuries different. Like they won 6 games with DeVito and Tyrod. Was not easy to do with the 32nd ranked offensive line. I mean, just a disgusting offensive line with no coaching. And we lose, your quarterback, and then you lose your kicker. And they might have won 7, 8 games, 9 games with field goal, right? Buffalo, the Jets, and there's another one.
Rams.
Rams. Right. So again, that's one thing. My issue with the New York Giants in whole, Spartan, and I think you'll agree with me actually, is the only rub, not a big rub, but my rub with the Dable Shane regime is duplicating Buffalo when Buffalo didn't win. And the reason why I say that is because, and hear my philosophy, like I'm glad that we're closer to Buffalo than we're not. But my issue is the teams that win have a lot of superstars. And I feel like this team gets built on B+ talent that they want to elevate to A talent, but with good coaching, you can, right? And the Giants have really good pieces. But like until Neighbors was here, Spartan, my rub is why are we drafting a ton of B players? And that's why I always said in the 2nd and 3rd round, they should be A players, not B players. Your 2nd round pick and your 3rd round pick have to be A players. If they're B players, you're waiting to coach them up.
For example, like you talk about, like why get a guy like Flott when there are still probably some other guys out there that could have been legitimate starters, and this is not to take away from the some value that he does bring, but in general, it's like they were going for the nickel guy before they were thinking about getting this cornerback.
And I love Phillips. That kid's gonna be a great player. But you drafted a slot guy in the 3rd round. Like, so that's my only rub. Is like, can we just get a couple dudes that are dudes?
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. Get some guys that are going to be the best in their position. Just get one. Just get one dude over the next few years. Beyond, let's talk about quarterback aside. Get somebody that's like the guy at their spot.
Yeah, like hands down. If
like
they
Newman?
can't, Well, but he don't know. He can't
Yeah,
stay
we'll
healthy.
see about that.
I understand. Well, I understand. I'm just saying though, he was the
And
best safety in the draft. He's the
yeah,
first round talent we got in the second round. So there's a guy that you're drafting to try to be a Theo Johnson. I know we got him in the fourth round, but that guy could be a stud, right? Like,
well, again, I'm not saying that they can't be. There's still B players that you hope to coach the A players. I'm saying like like Spartan just said, why are you drafting Phillips? I need a CB2, not a slot. Why are you drafting Azudo? I don't need a swing tackle that you make play guard. Just get me the guard.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I want more.
No
I want
gadget
more
players.
guys.
No,
Yes.
no
Yes.
like switcheroo. Hey, I hate this one too when it's like this guy can play cornerback and safety. It's like, well, does he do either of them that good? Oh no, he just has the ability to kind of be crappy, somewhat better than average. Like I get what you're saying, Craig, but Sean, you did bring up a good point. I mean, there have been guys like JMS was the best center at his position, right? Newman was. It seems to be after that second round pick where things start like they're going for the gadget switcherooski guys a little bit earlier than they should.
Yeah, but Jerome Henderson was very high on Drew Phillips. And again, if you're thinking that Flott can be CB2, then slot corner is very important. I know, but that's what they were thinking. They come out and said it. And Henderson, you listen to him talk about Flott, we all respect Jerome Henderson, and he was high on Flott. So that's my thinking. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I also think they're trying. Phillips is not. I mean, you didn't have a third guy. Like you didn't have a corner that was available in the third round. You could have gotten right.
Yeah, well, again, but that's strategy, right? Like, what am I doing at 2? Where am I positioning myself? Am I moving up? Do I not go corner and get the guard? Do I get Cooper Beebe because he's there? So that's the thing. And again, I love Phillips. I'm just making. I mean, like he might turn out to be the best one on the draft outside of Neighbors.
But how can you pass on a Newman, right? Like that changed the strategy. If he's there, I don't know how you can. Well, okay.
Cornerback 2 or safety, guard or safety. You're taking the guard or you're taking the cornerback 2.
First round talent versus a second round talent. I'm taking the first round talent. I mean, again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying my take is.
Yep. And that's my only rub. Like I said, like I think they have better pieces now than they ever have. But the reason why the national media or the fans is like, what are we great at? We're great at Malik Neighbors. We're great at Andrew Thomas, and the rest of it goes. Oh, and we're great at inside linebacker.
Front seven's pretty good.
We're great at key tackle. Like they want more great players. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, have an identity. Have something that people are like, Christ, we really got to watch it at the Giants because they do this great.
We got those guys now. We got those guys now. You're not going to turn in to watch Brian Burns and Dexter and like it takes a while.
You do have to see that one come together. Yeah. Like, I do want to make sure like it does happen, but yeah, I'm fairly confident that will be one.
It takes time to get those guys.
The front 7.
Yeah, it takes time to get those guys. Like you can't just get them right away. Like I think personally, again, I think they've done a good job of getting those guys. Now, year 1 was different because, again, Shane didn't have all of his guys by the time he was hired. So he still had some of Gettleman's scouts on there, right? So I'll give him some flack on that one. But year 2, year 3, like I don't know. I feel like they're drafting.
No,
they're trying to get those guys. No, I think they're trying to get those guys. When you look at there was also a concerted effort to get guys this year that were physical, were tough, fast, like. They went after Sugar, and they want studs. Like, I think they got studs this year. I think they got 4 studs in this draft.
What you're saying is Phillips, Neighbors, Newbin, and Theo.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I like it. And again, I'm not complaining. I'm saying overall, the capsule of the Giants is you don't tune into the Giants to see anybody play except for Dexter Lawrence, and now you have Burns, and now you have Malik Neighbors. So now there's some cachet. We haven't had that cachet. Anyway, guys, it's late.
Yep.
But I'm gonna let you guys go. I'll put up a little bit of a video on Instagram tomorrow. I kind of filmed the opening of the box for the first time. I was pretty jazzed about it with the rings. I'll throw that up there. Fantasy football. If you want to play, please just go to the fantasy on nygiantsrush.com. There's a fantasy
Real quick,
tab.
if they go to that link, will they be able to select the new league now, or do they have to
Yes.
do something?
Yep.
Okay,
It's ready to go.
good. Let's go.
Yeah. So let's fill up this second league. One's a Joker League. One's a Spartan League. Play against these guys. We lowered the cost to $25. You get an autographed New York Giants jersey for first place of each league,
And then player too. Guy Wimper wasn't available, so we went with
Guy Wimper was not available.
Yeah, and you guys you don't want any of this smoke playing me in fantasy, guys. Let me tell you right now, you don't want none of this smoke.
See,
so,
he made this JV league for Joker to make himself think that he's good at fantasy.
Yeah. By the way, Spartan, send the link to Mark Thompson because Jay was kind enough to pay for his entry fee. So hit up Mark so he can get his team in that second league.
Here, I'll put it, Mark. I'm going to put it right here in the chat.
No,
right?
don't do that. Don't do that because then everyone else will skip it and go that way and cause the same problem we had before. DM on the side, please.
We've had some technical difficulties. Our
We've had some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you to pull the curve back a little bit here. It
was kind of like the Spider-Man meme. Like, wait, that's how the fantasy leagues run. I thought last year we did this, and it was both like, oh, that's right. I didn't start the league, and
every day that goes by, I'm like this. God damn it, Spartan. God, someone rein Spartan in, will you? God damn it.
You're right. I had a minorly cranky text to you. I apologize.
It's okay. I basically
that was a pretty severely cranky text, but we're all good, guys.
It's okay. I dimed you right out I called Joker up and was like, look, I'm like, this just whiny ass millennials in Texas. I'm like, look at this stuff. And he was laughing so hard, I thought he had a heart attack. I couldn't hear the air in his lungs anymore. He was laughing so hard. So yes, Spartan sent me a whiny millennial text like in the middle of the night, but we're good. We still love Spartan. We have fantasy football. There's probably in the second league, there's probably about 9 spots left. Either tell someone, get in, get it going, and let's rock this thing. Have a good time. Guys, appreciate you guys always hanging out with us. Anybody has any questions about the rings? Because I'm still looking at them. Every couple hours, I'm still looking at them because they're pretty cool. I'm Gen X, and we always bring the smoke. That's right, dude. That's what we do. You guys are the best. Love you guys. New shirts. Everything's new up in the store with the new logo, which you guys can see up on Shawnee's board and up in the right corner. And, of course, you guys rock. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. By the way, for the record, last thing is this is our 200th show.
Oh, man. I'm glad I got to be a part of that. History.
This is the 200th show. All right, so guys like Darius and Cole and Mark.
Craig's going to send out New York Giants rush rings engraved to each of our fans that are tuning in tonight.
They will be 200. They will be those plastic bubble gum rings you get out of the in the supermarket where you put a quarter in it and you crank it. Do they still make those?
Let's go to Walmart and find out.
Yeah, right. I'm sure they do.
Yeah. So yes, this is 200. I will say I failed you all like I normally do. I tried to get a guest, but all our our beat reporter guys are like, we can't do anything to this. To the rosters are set and the cuts are happening because Dunleavy's always cool. This Paul's always cool. This cold man, really? I heard. That just hurts, dude. That just hurts. I named like the best hoodie in the store after Cold, and he says the show's better without me.
Did he just go?
He did. I guess this is where real
I was like, we can't end the show.
You guys are the best. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.